Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm going to be having a discussion. Today I'm interested in talking about something that is casually critical, and well, it could not be specific when it comes to research. It's just an idea that I had come across because of close reading, some background information, and just what I know about Hans Christian Andersen himself. And the topic at hand is how the Ugly Duckling, which is one of his more familiar fairy tales, can be very well classified as a Aspergian fairy tale, because people have speculated that Hans Christian Andersen could have very well had Asperger syndrome, which there was no diagnosis back then. Dr. Asperger himself lived from 1906 to 1980, and Hans Christian Andersen lived from 1805 to 1875. The symptoms about how he was somewhat awkward, he was a bit arrogant, but that isn't necessarily a trait that people on the spectrum hold. But Hans Christian Andersen had a high hope-based relationship for a Swedish singer named Jenny Lind. But there was also this idea that he had attraction for men, which he had these high expectations, which in the end he ended up never marrying, which he succeeded in just about every area, where he got annuity from the Danish king, so he was well-to-do, which was a great swing from being born into poverty. In addition, Hans Christian Andersen also had a great fascination with what he did. When he was younger, he was very passionate about theater. He actually, with his dad's help, he had a puppet theater set up, and he would act out stories that he would write himself. And when he started, he wrote prose and plays. It wasn't until the 1830s when he found his niche for fairy tales, and he started releasing fairy tale collections that he became known for. But I think that out of everything that I've read thus far, The Ugly Duckling is a tale that's much about himself, and it's also very much a tale about Asperger's. Not necessarily, I think anybody can relate to it in the lens that they see it, but the lens that I'm going to use is that Aspergian lens. The book that I'm going to be referring to, and will be leaving a link to down below, is this Barnes & Noble Classics collection of Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales. And if I found quotes that I liked, I jotted down notes for them. So, with regard to The Ugly Duckling, the Ugly Duckling himself hatched from a large egg, and he was delayed from the rest of his duck siblings, who looked nothing like him. So he was mistreated and segregated by them and bullied because he was different. I feel that when it comes to talking about the topic of bullying, and even with conditions like Asperger's, using physical images and physical situations is much more common than mental situations. For instance, if there is this video about bullying, they usually explore the fact that somebody has a lot of freckles or a big nose, as opposed to the fact that somebody likes to watch kid shows that people that are much younger than them tend to watch, or the fact that somebody would rather eat vanilla ice cream as opposed to a more exotic flavor like chocolate peanut butter. They concentrate more on the, even though there are many of mental aspects or more emotional aspects that come with Asperger syndrome, they concentrate more on the fact that he is physically awkward and that there is a delay in his development, which in almost all cases there is a delay in people with that are on the autistic spectrum or have those kind of conditions. You also have the mother who is, while she's exhausted, she's also very patient and accepting of her son, the Ugly Duckling. The reason she gives is a pretty, I would say, common response, and I would say the appropriate response. She says, "Look how nicely he uses his feet, how straight he holds himself. It's my own child. In reality, he's really quite attractive when you look closely at him." And she later talks more about him as being intellectually special. She also admires the fact that her son is that he swims just as beautifully, if not better, which goes to show you that it's very easy to write someone off when looking at them on the surface, but if you begin to look closely at them and see what kind of individual that they are, you can very well figure out that they're just like any other individual in how they have the same kind of feelings of wanting to be accepted, and also that idea that while they may be, as his siblings said, big and odd, he has people with his condition have strengths of their own, and it goes to show you that everybody is special in their own way. Eventually, he strays off from this particular family, and he comes across the wild ducks, who they have this feeling: if you don't bother me, we won't bother you. You can hang out with us, just don't marry into the family. Which he was able to stick around with this group of wild ducks, but then unfortunate circumstances separated him from them. The Ugly Duckling ends up engaging in more unfortunate adventures with the cat, the hen, and the woman, and things don't work out there, and he's about ready to just give up. But he comes across these swans, and he's not sure if they are going to accept him. But he ends up going up to them, and at this time he realizes that he himself has become a new, beautiful swan, just at his peak. And he realizes that he has found the group that he belongs with, which I feel that while many of the adaptations treat it just as if it was this ugly duckling and now it's a beautiful swan, just wait and see, I think that there's a lot more to it. And I think that it has to do with the fact that this idea that you just have to keep being who you are and don't give up, and you're going to find that group of people that see you for who you are. But even in this case, it's ducks and swans. But it's interesting how, while swans are beautiful creatures, they use these features that could still be described as being awkward. But it's that idea that everybody's different, and there's no such thing. They mention that these swans have long, supple necks, uttered some really astonishing sounds, spread out their wide, magnificent wings, which it's a mix between these things that we see as obviously beautiful and things that make us think, but eventually will provide people with that opportunity to embrace someone for who they are. I think that the moral to the story itself is presented toward the end of the piece, and that is, it doesn't matter whether you were born in a duck yard as long as you've lain in a swan's egg, which I think that they see the swans as just being this society of creatures and people with high hopes and feelings of being accepted, because everybody has their abnormalities. Because, especially, I think the one thing that really sticks out to me is how the ducks, who are deemed as the general population, how they go after the eel's head, losing it to the cat anyway. It's that idea that what the general population, or in many cases the neurotypical population, sees as being normal, may not necessarily be perceived in that way to somebody who is not a part of that community, or someone that does not possess that state of mind. It's very interesting that The Ugly Duckling is very reflective of Hans Christian Andersen's life, and it's just the idea that I think anybody can relate to it, whether they are, no matter what their difference is. It's just really intriguing to see it as a work about Asperger's. While it may have not been meant for that case, it's just a perspective that really blows your mind, and I think that it really made me think. Alrighty, if you are interested in checking out Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, here's the Barnes & Noble collection that I mentioned earlier in the video, and I highly encourage you to check this out. I read it a few times to prepare for our Andersen-based discussions that we had on our show. Thank you for tuning into this video, and for now, keep reading.